Secret cameos, franchise callbacks, and the worst feat you've ever seen. Here are some of the hidden secrets fans have noticed in Deadpool and Wolverine. When Wade Wilson is whisked away to the Time Variance Authority and makes the assessment that he's, in his words, Marvel Jesus, he makes a quick joke about the balance of power changing in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That's a meta-nod to Reynolds' Red Notice co-star Dwayne Johnson, and the big game Johnson talked about his impact on the DCEU.
The hierarchy of power in the DC universe is about to change.
That prediction did end up coming true, of course, just not in the way Johnson wanted. Black Adam bombed at the box office, and Johnson's attempt to take control of DC was squashed when James Gunn and Peter Safran became the co-heads of the film company. That's not the only time Deadpool and Wolverine takes a swipe at DC. When Henry Cavill briefly shows up as a variant of Wolverine, Deadpool takes great pains to reassure him that Marvel will treat him better than DC ever did. This, of course, is a reference to Cavill's time as Superman, which didn't end well. Deadpool goes through an extensive casting pool when auditioning replacement Logans, and some are more promising than others. One that doesn't quite have the X factor is a Wolverine crucified on a St. Andrew's cross in a nightmarish landscape of bloody skulls. When this variant fails the witty banter test by groaning in agony instead of firing off insults, Deadpool decides to leave the crucified Wolverine to his fate. How did that particular Wolverine end up in such a predicament? It's actually the work of Donald Pierce, the bionic-armed enforcer who was played by Boyd Holbrook in Logan. The striking image of the crucified Wolverine is based on Mark Silvestri and Dan Green's artwork for the cover of Uncanny X-Men number 251. In this issue of the comics, Logan is being tortured by Pierce and his gang of Reavers, and experiences feverish visions as a result. If you have lingering concerns about this particular Wolverine, rest assured that in the comic, he does eventually get rescued. After Deadpool and Wolverine confront Cassandra Nova at her lair in the Void, she offers them a means of escape by putting on a sling ring, creating a portal in the sky, and letting the two men leap through it to travel back to their proper timeline. Before they go, Cassandra casually makes a reference to procuring the sling ring by murdering a sorcerer, with the strong implication being that she has killed the Sorcerer Supreme himself, or at least a version of him. The multiverse saga has shown that there are a seemingly infinite number of variants of these characters wandering around in different universes, so it seems pretty clear at first that the version of Doctor Strange that Cassandra may have dispatched was not the one we've been following in the MCU thus far. But while her description is vague enough that it could be referring to any sorcerer, the fact that Cassandra appears to have the Cloak of Levitation stored in her lair suggests that it really was Strange who bit the dust. So much happens in this movie that a lot of stuff can easily get lost in the background. For example, some people might not have noticed the Liefeld's Just Feet store in the background during the film's climactic battle with all of the Deadpool variants. This is in reference to Rob Liefeld, the co-creator of Deadpool and the pages of Marvel Comics. More than that though, it's a loving jab at his career as an artist. Liefeld is a very accomplished artist, but over the years, he has been mocked online for his depiction of feet in his work. Oftentimes, he seems to outright avoid drawing feet because when he does, it can get a little weird. So the film team decided to give Liefeld a knowing nod in the film. After the film's release, Liefeld himself said, "I was laughing hysterically when the Marvel Business Affairs people called me. They were laughing too." Loki may have bagged the multiversal variant played by Richard E. Grant, but Deadpool has one-upped the God of Mischief by assembling a whole army of variant cameos.
What did you expect?
Take Ladypool, for example, who is played by Reynolds' real-life wife, Blake Lively. The Nuclear Pool family also includes the foul-mouthed Kid Pool, voiced by Reynolds and Lively's daughter, Inez Reynolds, and the tiny Baby Pool, whose giggle comes courtesy of their youngest son, Olin. Meanwhile, Cowboy Pool speaks with a familiar Texan twang of Oscar winner Matthew McConaughey. The disembodied Head Pool is played by Nathan Fillion in his fourth minor Marvel Cinematic Universe role. There's also a fun cameo for fans of Reynolds' reality series Welcome to Wrexham among the non-speaking Deadpools, as Wrexham forward Paul Mullen plays Welsh Pool. One of the miscellaneous Deadpools is even played by Harry Holland, brother of Spider-Man actor Tom Holland. Henry Cavill's cameo as a version of Wolverine from the Marvel Multiverse, aka the Calverine, was one of the biggest crowd-pleasing moments in Deadpool and Wolverine. But the cameo itself isn't the only Easter egg in this scene, as it also includes a callback to a moment from 2018's Mission Impossible Fallout. As Wade is making his trip through the multiverse trying to find a suitable Wolverine replacement, he stumbles upon Cavill's version of the character. Rather quickly, he angrily attacks Wade with his signature claws. However, Cavill's character does so in a unique manner, seemingly loading his arms for maximum effort. This is very much like what he did in the bathroom scene from Fallout, where he gets up after a beatdown, shakes it off, and reloads his arms before going back for more. Few blockbusters require their target demographics to remain on their toes nearly as much as Deadpool and Wolverine does, seeing as it lets loose with countless pop culture references and jokes practically every other minute. Certainly, few fans could hope to compete with Deadpool's vast encyclopedic knowledge of every stray piece of entertainment under the sun, from Gossip Girl to Avril Lavigne to NSYNC. But one particular example of this arrives at the most unexpected of moments, no less than the emotional climax of the entire story. This one's for the Trekkies out there. During the third act, Deadpool and Wolverine realize that one of them must sacrifice themselves in order to destroy Mr. Paradox's Time Ripper device and save the entire multiverse from Cassandra Nova's sinister schemes. After a little back and forth, Logan presents an awfully compelling case for why he should be the one to redeem himself through a big, heroic sacrifice. It appears as if Wade has resigned himself to this too, until he pulls the ultimate switcheroo, incapacitates his buddy, and takes his place as the one to go out in a blaze of glory. While many will undoubtedly think of a similar scene in Michael Bay's disaster epic Armageddon, Deadpool hangs a lampshade on this by outright reenacting Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, and calling attention to his parallels with Spock's famous death scene. This moment is both hilarious and heartbreaking, though there is the unavoidable reality that their combined regeneration abilities allow them to skirt any actual consequences. But hey, that's basically what happens with Spock anyway, so maybe Deadpool knew exactly what he was doing after all. If there were any doubts that Hugh Jackman might have a career after the first time he retired as Wolverine, The Greatest Showman laid them to rest. Released in theaters 9 months after Jackman's X-Men met his maker in Logan, director Michael Gracey's musical suffered a slow start at the box office and tepid reviews, many of which showered praise on the movie's song and dance numbers while condemning its sugarcoating of real-life con artist P.T. Barnum. It soon overcame these issues, however, to become a crowd-pleasing commercial success. The movie itself is everything that Deadpool and Wolverine is not. A squeaky clean romp for the whole family devoid of bad language, innuendo, or any sort of graphic violence. So of course Jackman, Ryan Reynolds, and company had to take the mickey out of it at some point. At one point in the movie, Logan verbally ripped Wade a new one in a dressing down the likes of which haven't been seen since Steve Martin tore into John Candy in planes, trains, and automobiles. After this, the two proceed to beat each other to a pulp inside the Honda Odyssey lent to them by Niceball. After Wade sucker punches Logan, his clawed companion thwaps the merc with a mouth several times in the face before slamming his head against the car's infotainment system, briefly causing the greatest show from The Greatest Showman to play. Things only get worse from there as the titular duo stab, slash, and otherwise pummel each other, reducing the vehicle around them to little more than a pile of blood-stained metal and glass. And this isn't the only reference to The Greatest Showman in the movie either. Look closely during the portal scene and you'll notice a Deadpool variant dressed as P.T. Barnum. Despite Deadpool's reputation as Marvel's biggest rule breaker, even this loudmouthed, fourth-wall-breaking hero has his limits. Deadpool and Wolverine includes a surprising amount of shots fired directly at 20th Century Fox, Kevin Feige, and pretty much everyone in between. But while one additional reference provided one of the movie's biggest throwaway laughs, there was a little more going on beneath the surface for those who know their behind-the-scenes trivia. The moment comes when Wade and Logan are driving alongside in the void after one of their many arguments. In order to pass the time during their journey, Deadpool begins acting like a child and making annoying thwip noises and gestures to entertain himself. Even the most casual of moviegoers could likely pick up on the reference to Spider-Man, Marvel's crown jewel of a character. But what fans could certainly appreciate is the likely reason this was left unsaid, because legally speaking, not even Ryan Reynolds could get away with name-dropping our favorite webhead without the expressed written consent of Sony Pictures. Deadpool might have been able to fit seamlessly into the MCU by virtue of Disney absorbing Fox, but the same doesn't hold true for Spidey.